It looks like a simple office mouse from afar, but up close it's actually a gaming mouse that Logitech promises delivers insane performance without breaking the bank. So does it deliver on its promise, or does it flop like my grades every single exam? Well, you gotta keep watching the review of the Logitech G102/G203 to find out. As always, we start off with the design. Up top we find the left right clicks, the scroll wheel, and a middle button that is by default the DPI switcher, but it's reprogrammable in software. More on that later. And on the left you find two dump buttons, and there's no rubber grip here. It's quite common on higher end mouse, but this is a budget mouse and I don't blame it for not having any rubber grip. On the back you find a strip and a logo that is RGB backlit, which is nice. And on the front, the cable is connected. It's not detachable, but I think that's okay completely. The cable is a nice decent length, definitely enough to reach your PC without any difficulty, and it's not braided. I kind of like a simple rubber cable over braiding, as it really saves weight, and with the simple rubber cable the mouse is lighter, especially since Logitech's braiding tends to be very thick, very stiff, very heavy, and wears out way too fast. That's just my personal opinion though. On the bottom you find the sensor, which is nice. There's no sensor rattle here, and it is a bit disappointing though that the mice feet here are really small. It's a simple fix. Logitech could have fixed this no issue at all. Just simple bigger mousepad would have helped out a lot. Overall though, the mouse has excellent build quality, especially for a plastic ball thing. The plastics feel solid, nothing really is out of place. The buttons and other parts are all well assembled, and there is no sensor rattle. It feels like a nice little plastic tank. Comfort wise, it's really excellent. It has a simple office mouse style shape with small grooves in the kicks, and although there's no rubber on the sides for extra grip, the nice rough plastic sides that curve outward slightly give a nice surface to hold on to even when lifting the mouse for low sensitivity gaming. Do note that because there's no like rubber surface to hold on to, if you have sweaty palms you're probably gonna slide, but for me it's perfectly okay. Also, because this mouse is so small and compact, it's unlikely you're going to have a very comfortable palm grip with this mouse. So you're probably going to be using claw or fingertip grip with this mouse. So if you don't like using those grips, then you might want to look elsewhere. But with those grips, this mouse is excellent. It really excels when being used in that way. Finally, for the designer specs, there is RGB. It's pretty much everywhere nowadays, and that's why a budget-oriented product like the G102 has it as well. It's pretty nice. There's good brightness, beautiful colors, great contrast, and the lights can be changed in software, although the modes are rather basic I find, with there only being spectrum cycling, breathing, and solid colors, or off, which is what I use because I don't really care about RGB. But all that design once again would be rather useless without any good performance. So how does that perform? Well, really good. The mouse clicks are satisfying and tactile. They feature a tensioning system first seen on the G302. It's excellent, I really love it. And the switches aren't particularly light, but the tensioning system first seen on the G302 really helps out here by making it sensitive and responsive. This system makes it so that clicking anywhere on the surface area of the click is the same consistent experience. So it doesn't matter what your hand size or your grip style is, no matter where you click on the mouse, it feels the same, it's still equally as fast. And also this tension makes the switch return to its original position before actuation really quickly. So that makes the switch super tactile, satisfying, and something I can really call fast. And also, just as a bonus, it sounds excellent. Take a listen. The scroll wheel is also decent, although they're a bit loose and have two subtle steps for my liking. I like the clunky kind of scroll wheels, like on the G502, but your preference may differ because this is very similar to like the Def and the Chroma, which I reviewed earlier. and that has very subtle nuanced stepped scroll wheel. So I'm thinking maybe FPS gamers or gamers in general tend to prefer a easier to scroll quickly scroll wheel than something clunky and heavy, but my personal preference is to something that is really tactile. The secondary clicks and buttons are also excellent. I don't think they are on-run switches, but they are great. The middle click, DPI switcher, and the thumb buttons all sound nice and all feel great, and they're responsive and fast, so that's really nice. However, do note that if you don't like the default programs and layout of these buttons, you can always reprogram it and readjust it in software with Logitech gaming software. I think it's really easy to use. There's a lot of functionality in that software, and if you to use this mouse, you definitely want to download that software to improve your experience with it. Finally, the sensor, which is arguably pretty much the most important part of a mouse. So how does that fare? Well, compared to the GPRO, the G102's older brother, this mouse loses the overkill but perfect PMW3366 sensor as found on the G502, and trades it for a cheaper 6000 dpi optical alternative that is said to be less perfect. But I'm sure most of everyone will notice, unless you're like super OCD or super professional. It's still a really accurate sensor, it's still responsive, there's no hardware acceleration I can feel, and the sensor didn't spin out with fast flick, which is important for FPS gaming. Lift-off distance is low, so if you are a low sensitivity gamer, that is nice, but it's not adjustable, so if you like high lift-off distance, I don't understand why you would. You can't have the option of adjusting it. Overall though, it's still an excellent sensor that's great performance and works well for FPS. So I guess it's conclusion time then. Should you get the G102? Well, to me, it's yes. It's a good sensor. It's got a simple but comfortable grip. It's got amazing clicks, and it's got a whoppingly low price. It's $40 on Amazon pretty much all the time, and sometimes even drops down to $30. And the RGB is definitely a nice bonus. However, if you play like MOBAs and need macros, it's really lacking in buttons, so you probably want to look elsewhere for those games. But for FPS, this is one hell of a mouse. I definitely recommend you check it out if you play competitive FPS like Overwatch or Counter-Strike. Anyway, this has been my review of the Logitech G102, and if you enjoyed it or found it helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to and have the time to watch another video linked on the screen, that'd be really appreciated. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.